All right, Chris, are we live? We are live. All right. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Anthony Jones, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Shelby Clement, CEO of Shelby Clement Marketing. And of course, the topic for our live stream today is building your personal brand on LinkedIn. And for those of you who know me, this is a topic that I am really passionate about. It's something Shelby is really passionate about, and we've got a lot of tips that we're going to share during the stream that I think will be of great value to you guys. So, just quick background. I first connected with Shelby a few months ago when I discovered her videos on TikTok. And I really loved her style. I loved the energy and the way she was really cranking out like consistent content in such a great way. So I reached out and I asked a few questions about how she was producing some of her videos, picked her brain on a couple of ideas. That led to a Zoom call where we decided, hey, let's do a LinkedIn live stream. And here we are today. So I have a list of questions that I'm going to ask Shelby today. She's going to do the same for me, and I really think you're going to leave this session with some actionable tips that you can take to use to create your brand, to create content, and really understand how to use LinkedIn. But before we do that, Shelby, tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and your experience on LinkedIn to date.
Hey guys, thank you, Anthony, for having me today. I'm Shelby Clement. I run Shelby Clement Marketing, and I am a business that helps small businesses, large corporations, and personal brands enhance their brand awareness utilizing social media platforms, whether that is video content or just static posts, whatever the case may be. We strategize for you and whatever fits your needs, and we blast it out everywhere.
And I totally butchered your last name.
It's okay. Everyone does. It's not a big deal. So, it's fine. My maiden name was Demicelli, so it's really not a big, I always had to tell people how to say that one too, so it's fine.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about, obviously, like I said, I discovered you through TikTok and the content you were putting out there, the reels that you were putting out. Tell us a little bit about your experience on LinkedIn today. Like what, how did you get started? Where are you right now? And are you using it to generate any leads for your business?
I started actually on LinkedIn a couple years ago. Well, I should say more than a couple years ago, because that is a false. Whenever I graduated college, LinkedIn was like, you should join this platform. So then I jumped into the oil and gas industry and really embraced LinkedIn a little bit more. And then probably hit hard in 2020. And kind of just went from there and built my brand and along with the corporate I was working for, oil and gas. And then kind of put it on the back burner when I started my business, because I was like, I don't even know what LinkedIn is. Do I need it? But I utilize it a lot for my oil and gas clients or just like my bigger corporations. But I never felt like I needed one, which was really, really dumb. So if you're watching this, don't listen to that obvious comment. But I remember seeing your stuff on TikTok once. So like I was really heavy on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And I remember discovering your stuff on TikTok as well. And I was like, God, he's talking about LinkedIn. Is it really relevant? What do I need to do? So the more I started following you, the more I got really more into it. And I've been just utilizing it probably more over the last, 5 to 6 months, and kind of just seeing what is working and what is not working. Obviously today I have a ton of questions for you just to pick your brain for myself and everyone that is actually watching. But I've seen a lot of return with it, just almost making connections at this point. Like I've had more corporations reach out to me. I've had more people in the oil and gas space that reach out to me, but they kind of already knew who I was a little bit with who I was with before I started my own business. So it really wasn't just me advertising solely on LinkedIn to get those, but I have seen more connections made and more people that I've actually just had more genuine conversations with utilizing LinkedIn versus clients right now. But I am on the brink of it. I feel it. It's an awesome tool. It's an awesome platform, and people are definitely underutilizing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said is so true. Like even today in 2022, so many people still think of LinkedIn as the job board that it was, 15, 20 years ago. Yes. And don't look at LinkedIn as a true social network like the other networks out there. And when they come to LinkedIn, they may be posting content on other channels, but when they come to LinkedIn, it's just like overwhelm, and they don't know what to post. It's a professional platform. All of a sudden there's a news feed and there's lots of conversations going, but so many people just don't know how to start building that personal brand, how to post content, and really leverage the platform as it is today, and not look at it like the social or the job board that it was years ago.
Exactly. And I always tell people this. I'm like, it is the Facebook. It is literally just like Facebook, but it's just on a more professional basis. Like you're going to reach way more professional people. It's obviously you don't share the same things. It's a whole different strategy and different tactics, but it still can be personalized and utilized in the same sense of getting to know someone or your consumer that you're trying to reach. I think people just get turned off because they feel like it's just a job board, exactly what you said. And I used to explain it as it's my resume. Let me just, because I never in a million years thought I was going to, well, I did think I was going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't think it was going to be this avenue. But when I used to utilize it a lot, I would update it on the sense of the fact that I need to update this for LinkedIn is not Facebook, Shelby. Sorry.
Chris had to throw that in there.
I literally utilize it as just a resume. I mean, I'm telling you, my mind has changed, y'all. It's definitely changed. And I think God put Anthony in my life on TikTok for me to see what LinkedIn could do for you and your brand. So I do believe this is going to be awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. And, I started posting on LinkedIn 5 or 6 years ago. When I first started on LinkedIn, it was a profile in 2007. I actually went back and looked. Like I created my profile in April of 2007, just because people said you've got to have a profile. If you're a professional, you have to have a profile. I didn't touch LinkedIn until really, 2017, 18, unless I was recruiting talent for my team. That's the only time that I used it. But in 2017, 18, LinkedIn was kind of coming on to our radar at Ducks Unlimited as a channel that was growing and something that we needed to be, taking advantage of. But it was that one channel that I had no personal experience with. So I just started posting content. Like I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't have a strategy. I was just trying to learn the platform. Fast forward a couple of years later, and when 2020 hit and COVID happened, I had people start reaching out to me saying, "Hey, will you help me with my profile? Will you help me with my content?" Because people were either losing jobs or, they were afraid they may lose a job. And all of a sudden, LinkedIn became important. And It was also around that time, TikTok was taking off, short form video was taking off, and the platform was really, emerging into this true social network. And like that's what enabled me to start a side business a couple of years ago, and then that side business, gained enough momentum last year. I was able to do this full time because people saw me as a person who knew the platform.
Right.
That's basically what it was. And over time, through the content that I was posting, I had built that personal brand, not intentionally. Again, I just started posting content to see what would happen. But what I realized was over time, I was building a personal brand and building that know, like, trust factor that makes people want to reach out and say, "Hey, can you help me with this particular problem?" And that's really what I help my customers do today is utilize the platform, build out a content strategy to build out the know, like, trust factor, and be seen so that they are top of mind when a consumer is ready to buy. One of the big lessons I've learned, and this, like, I'm wrapping up my first full year as a business owner. It's been right at 1 year since I started this deal. And like one of the things that I've learned is, people buy on their timeline, not yours.
Yes.
And when I first started this business full time, I thought, I'm going to go out. I've got a large network. People have been following me and I've had content. People are immediately going to sign up for all of my services. And what I found was that wasn't necessarily the case. People were having conversations. We were having booked calls and discovery sessions and so forth. But in many cases, it was months, even almost a year later, where some of these people are now reaching back out saying, "Okay, now I'm ready." And the reason I bring that up is because you have to stay top of mind over the long term. Just because someone connects, that's not your time to pitch. That's your time to make a connection, establish a relationship, and so that they see you over the long term posting content, so that when they are ready to buy that product or service, you're the one they think about and not your competition.
Exactly. And I've had this conversation a lot lately. It's not just necessarily, and I actually just sent out an email today about it. It's not necessarily about going online and making a sale, because let me tell you, if someone else adds me to their network on LinkedIn and I hit accept and they pitch me, they're going to get the bad Shelby, because I'm going to be like, stop doing this. This is not marketing. Marketing is not, you don't need to lead with sales. You need to lead with a community build, and you need to to lead with building a trust factor and not just saying, this is what I can offer you. This is what you should pay. This is how much I charge, all this yada, yada, yada. You reach out, you give valuable information, or you just continue to post. Thank you for following along. I hope you get something out of the things that I post. Boom, straight to the point. I had a client that I just signed on last week that has been watching me for over a year, that has never engaged in my content. I didn't even know he was really there. I mean, I did know he followed me, but I thought it was just as a friend because we went to high school together. But then he is now one of my largest clients because he waited until the right time, and then that was on his time frame. So you have to be at the top of mind consumer. I had a conversation with someone today that was like, I have a wait list. I don't need any sales. Well, that's not what you should be attacking your marketing with. You should be attacking it with valuable information and top of mind of your consumer. So when you are ready to bring on more clients or they are ready to utilize you, then they're going to think of you first versus your competitor. So I think that this is huge. I think people are just getting very, very intimidated with LinkedIn in the sense of like, I have people that have asked me all the time, what type of content do we post on LinkedIn? Because on TikTok, it's video. On Instagram, they're pushing video. I've seen LinkedIn come out with stories. Those have gone away, I think, maybe not. Yep. Video is big or not. And then I see these bigger people that are like Alex Hormozi and his wife, and all of them are now utilizing photos instead of videos. So like, what is your, I guess, mindset on content? Are you looking at it more as like video? Obviously, video is key here for them to get to know you on a personal level, but what are you seeing on LinkedIn that's working more efficiently? Is it caption based? Is it static posting? Is it video? Give us a little insight on that.
Yeah, so it's really across the board. And, there are so many different types of posts, text-based posts, videos, photos, polls. Generally speaking, I encourage everyone to, test out those different formats. There's not one format that is head and shoulders better than others. They all have their pros and their cons. For example, a text-based post right now is probably going to get more reach than any other type of post, whereas videos typically get lower reach, but the engagement level is much, much higher. Okay. And like one of the things that I'm doing in my business, and I'm advising most of my clients that I'm working with right now, is like double down on video content for LinkedIn in 2023. And so many reasons. But the biggest is the fact that, when we're talking about building your personal brand, establishing trust, video is the fastest way to do that because it has much more impact than a text-based post or a picture that you post, because it's literally you talking directly to your prospects, to your consumers and so forth. And it shows your personality and it makes you more memorable than people who aren't. And it's the most intimidating. I say that live streaming is the most intimidating because as we were talking before the show, right?
Yes, very much so. But it's fine. People aren't even here. We're just talking. We don't even know what's happening in the background. That's why we have Chris. Keep going.
Exactly. But video is so much more impactful. And LinkedIn is understanding that like the world of TikTok and the reels of Instagram, like that's the content of the future, so to speak. And YouTube Shorts, like everyone is doubling down on short form video. Even so much of the vertical style I see seems to perform better even on LinkedIn. So I'm doubling down on that. I'm encouraging my clients to do the same. And if you are just getting started on LinkedIn, the most important thing is not video. It's building a content strategy. It's building a strategy that does a couple of things. One, it shows who you are as a real person, right? Because if you followed me for any amount of time, you'll hear me say people connect with people, not brands on LinkedIn. They may love your company, they may love your logo or what, and your mission or so forth, but they connect with the people. So you want to have like a content pillar, if you will, that just talks about you on a regular basis, shows your personality, shows your authentic self. Then build a content strategy that shows your expertise in your market. Okay. Right. What are the pain points that you solve for your customers? If you're a business owner, for example, like you want to be posting about that on a regular basis. If you are employed, if you work full-time for a company, you want to approach it a little bit differently. You want to share content that shows who you are within your organization, that shows your experience, shows the projects that you're working on and the problems that you and your team help solve for your company. And again, doing that on a consistent basis. That's the other thing that is where so many people get hung up is they get excited. They start out, okay, I'm going to start building a personal brand on LinkedIn. They
Yep.
make a couple of posts that fall flat. They get no engagement and they say, okay, this isn't worth it. They quit. And like, that's the biggest mistake you can make. You have to be consistent over the long term. 1 or 2 posts a month isn't going to do it. It takes that consistency. So I forget even where I was started on that on that question, but that's where that kind of
No,
dovetailed
it's
off.
okay. I love how I literally smile with you because I love hearing people in the same industry reiterate the things that I say, because sometimes I feel like it's made up because people sometimes just question it or don't believe it. But in the same sense of like, you're so right. People buy from people. They're not buying from a brand. They're buying because of how you made them feel and what that brand associated with you is making them feel. So I think that going into 2023, video is going to be huge, even more than it is now, because just like you said, you're getting to know that person. You're getting to know how they tick. You get how like I fidget a lot when I'm on video, but that's just how I am. I've done this for over almost 2 years now, and I'm still just doing it. I'm not confident in it. I still get nervous. You can ask Chris and you can ask Anthony right before this. Like, we still get nervous. You just have to actually do it and showcase what you have to offer that is going to make you different from your competitor. And I think that's what people struggle with, because they can't get over the fear of getting on video, as well as they don't want to be consistent. So I definitely wanted to touch on that as well, because in my opinion and what I've seen, consistency is huge. And every time I talk to clients that I have, we don't sign month contracts anymore. We don't sign 3-month contracts anymore. My minimum is 6 months, because that is at bare minimum of when we're going to actually see something come from what we've been putting into work, if not longer. I've been in business now for almost 2 years, and all my content is finally paying off to the point where people are like, I've seen it. You're doing a great job branding yourself. You just have to give it time. If you're posting for a month, twice a week, you might as well hang it up, because if that's all that you want to do and you want to see results, that's just not going to happen. And that's just not worth your time, really. Because if you think about all the creators and all the personal brands and the businesses that are on these platforms and utilizing these platforms to the best of their ability, they're going to be in front of you always, because they're continuing to put out content, whether it falls flat on its face or it doesn't. So stop looking for the virality aspect of your post, whether that's video, whether that's static, whether that's text-based posts, and just start giving the value to your consumer, and then study what works and then alter your strategy to that. So that's where the biggest key is, especially like, I don't feel like, yeah, these platforms are all different, but in the same sense kind of are the same, with people just want to interact with people and not be pitched to. And so just be a human and talk about things that you love. And why do you feel like your product is the best? Or, why do you feel like you're going to offer the best service, or whatever the case may be? Or what is your routine? Or, give them something more about you and your product versus just selling every single time.
Absolutely. The pitch slap, as Chris said, that's the number one turnoff on LinkedIn. I've got a handful in my inbox just from today alone, and it's crazy that people still think they can either do that on their own or have automated bots that are doing this automatically. That's so obvious, by the way. If you're doing that, stop. 1, it's ridiculous and it's annoying. 2, it's against LinkedIn's terms of service, and it can get your account shut down. So just stop with that. And be a real human, like Shelby says. And, on that question of, how long does it take? I saw Ivana's question earlier, and you touched on this, and I really love that you said, you're signing customers with 6 months, as part of that contract. And that, I think that's a really smart business decision, because it can take time for that to, for that content to pay off. That said, on LinkedIn, you can generate leads in a lot faster than 6 months if you're doing cold outreach, if you're posting content. But if you really want that long-term goal of generating inbound leads, like, that's really what I focus on in my marketing and helping clients. It's posting content over the long term so that you don't have to do the cold outreach. You don't have to run paid ads. You don't have to do all that legwork chasing clients that is exhausting. You have established that personal brand and that identity so that you're top of mind and they come to you. And when that happens, that can be a transformation in your business, in your life, because it gives you back so much more time that you can invest into growing your business, invest back into your clients. And that's really like the gold mine of LinkedIn, if you will. It's that you can, if you're doing it correctly, you can run your business where you're getting most of your clients inbound as opposed to chasing. And that's a game changer for sure.
It's a big game changer to the point where like I hate selling. Like I'm to the point where if I get another, I will never do this because it makes me sweat thinking about it. But if I get another sales pitch on LinkedIn, I'm going to blast that human being that tries to pitch me because I'm so over it that I'm like, I am the last person that loves sales because I just don't. I think it's very cringy. The girl that works for me is way better at it than just like if someone asks me what I do, I just talk about it. I don't try to say like, Anthony, I can help you do this. Like I'm learning. It's getting better. But I'll say that I would so much rather someone see my content, reach out to me and ask me just to have a conversation than me to actually try to pitch them on a cold call of saying, hey, let me help you. Your social media looks like it needs help. Well, yeah, but I want to vibe with them and them to see me. So I would totally rather that, even though you do need some sales pitches in there.
Right. So, when I get on a call with a customer or a prospect, there's two types. One, someone doesn't really know me. They saw me and they schedule a call. And the other type is when people get on the call and they say, hey, Anthony, I've followed you for the last couple of years. I love your content. I've seen your stuff. Yeah. When they say that, like the close rate on those calls is like 80 to 90%, because at that point, they're basically sold. They know and trust you. And it's a matter of answering questions. What's the price? Okay, let's sign up. And that's a much easier conversation because I'm not a salesman. I suck at sales. I'm the Chris Farley, Tommy boy of salesmen. I've got 20 years of marketing background, digital marketing. Yes. And what I learned as a slap in the face when I first started doing this full time, marketing is not sales. And you know, I sell through my content. I sell through the personal brand. And I would not be able to pay a single light bill if I had to rely on my sales skills. And that's where LinkedIn and building your brand can be so powerful.
I think so too. And I think that if once people realize marketing and sales are two totally different things and they just start putting content out that is just good content for people to get to know them and what they have to offer, then I think that it's just going to be endless for them, because that's what people want, especially going into 2023. They want to work with a human. They don't want to work with just another business that's just going to have them as just another client. I've had so many conversations, especially when I first started, we've worked with a marketing agency before. I said, well, I'm not an agency. Well, I wasn't then, but it was just to the point where like my clients become my family, to the point where their success is my success. And I'm not just going to treat you as just here, I have another client, let me just check off that goal of mine of income. It's to the point where I want to succeed with you. And if we feel like even through that contract, we're not getting what we need to get or what we signed up to get, then we're going to terminate it, because it just doesn't make sense. I treat everybody like a human. And I think that that's fair, especially when you are working on these platforms, because there's so much nonsense that goes on these platforms that's so untrue, that social media gurus are preaching on how to do certain things and how to be successful and what to do and what not to do. And oh my God, it drives me nuts that if you're not real and willing to tell people your failures and your mistakes and what works and what doesn't work, then you're just one of those, you know what I mean? So I think it's huge. I think people just get very intimidated when it comes to LinkedIn.
No, absolutely. I know we've had some questions that have come through.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
Hey girl, I know her. Hey girl, hey, hello media. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Hey Trisha, I don't know you, but I'll try to answer your question real quick. Should an established brand focus on developing a content strategy on LinkedIn for one unique personal page, such as the founder or owner, or on their company page? That's a great question. I get that all the time. And yes, your company page is important. Every organization needs a company page on LinkedIn. You need to be putting content out through that company page on a regular basis. But engagement on posts made from company pages on LinkedIn is at an all-time low right now, whereas posts made by individual profiles on the platform is at an all-time high. And again, that goes back to what we talked about earlier. People connect with people, not with brands on LinkedIn. So if you're going to put focus on LinkedIn and build a strategy for your company, the best starting point isn't the company page. It's getting the voices of your employees, getting them active on the platform. And I think it's great if you can start at the top, just like with anything. If your executive team, your leadership team is showing up on LinkedIn and they're posting content that's going to make their teams feel much more comfortable in doing the same. And like my advice is to build a social media content strategy or social media policy for your team. So it kind of gives them guide rails of what should and should not be said and that sort of thing. But it shouldn't be so long that it stifles creativity. And again, leading from the front with your senior leadership team posting. But if you look at most companies, unless you're a Microsoft or an Amazon, if you look at the company pages on LinkedIn and the number of followers to those pages, they may be anywhere, 10, 15,000. I'm just making making that number up from a lot of companies that I've seen. But if you look at the individual employees and the number of connections they have in their combined networks, that is typically much greater. The reach of your brand on LinkedIn is much greater through your employees and not your company page. So give them that social media policy and then find ways to train them, get them active on LinkedIn. That's going to build your brand on this network more than anything you'll ever do through your company page.
I think too, just to touch on it, when I worked for the oil and gas industry, a lot of times they try to say like social media doesn't really work for them. But in the sense of like when I would generate, so during COVID, I went to social media marketing world the week literally before COVID happened. So I came back and I implemented like what they were saying. And we honestly turned everything into video. I tried to get everybody on the sales team involved, even just giving updates of what they were doing, wherever they were, because we were nationwide. And then also what I've realized too, if you have a company that's bigger, so like when I first started my business, it was just me. So having a company LinkedIn page didn't really I had it, I still posted on it, but I also still posted on my personal. But if you have a business that has multiple employees, getting them involved with saying, not just posting on theirs, but getting photos or videos of them to post on the company page for them to reshare is huge, because it's showing that your company is a human. Even though it's a large corporation, I deal with this all the time, especially with my large oil and gas companies. They're just like, use stock imagery. I was like, cool. Well, it's not going to get what you want. The reach, there has one guy that is in oil and gas right now. It's coming to my mind. I won't say his name, but he has great content, y'all. He works, he's a welder, he's in the oil and gas industry, and he makes video content that's insane that they post on their company page and then he shares on his page. And that in itself just shows that you're cheering for your employees and they're also talking about their business. Your business, and that they love working for you. So that's also going to help you with recruitment and getting employees to work for your business. So all of that hand in hand and getting everything involved is very much so large, but I'm a big advocate, especially going into 2023, as promoting your personal brand too. Obviously, you still work for a corporation, but you are someone that someone might like to deal with versus someone else that works for that business as well. So just keep all of that in mind. I just wanted to piggyback on what you had to say, Anthony.
Yeah, I love that. When I was at Ducks Unlimited, I kind of ran an experiment with my department where, we had a meeting one day and I said, okay, let's start posting content as a team on LinkedIn. We developed a team hashtag, and that's something else you may want to consider. If you're a director or you manage a department, consider a hashtag for your team and encourage your team members to post content like Shelby just suggested, behind the scenes content, showing the culture, showing the people, using LinkedIn to recognize the great accomplishments of your staff. That can go so far when it comes to, as Shelby said, to recruitment. When I was posting this content and encouraging my team to do the same, I wanted people to want to work for Ducks Unlimited. I wanted them to want to work for my team based on the content they saw us posting on LinkedIn. And that can be really powerful.
I wanted to wait, one more thing to piggyback on this, because I get this as like a pain point for some of my clients is this. Confidentiality agreements are with clients, whether I work in the oil and gas industry a lot and they can't showcase, we can't mention the client's name, or they can't showcase, or they can't have their phone. Well, if you can have your phone, or your employees can have their phone, do not get anything in the image or the video that's going to showcase where you're at or what you're doing. Like I used to work for a company that did NDT services. So basically all I wanted was focused on what service they were performing for that said client, whether that was just their hands holding the equipment, was it just a pipeline, was it them on an oil rig, just showing what they're doing for the day versus like, this is our office, that is their office. So it gives a little bit more into like what it's like to work for them as a corporation versus if you'd rather just be at a desk job. So that would also tell you a little bit more behind the scenes. And I know that there's a lot of client confidentiality agreements and everything, but there's ways around it, whether you stage it within your yard or the corporation that you have, or you actually have your phone and you don't show anything that's going to give that away. So I don't want that to actually be an excuse or to stray you from actually providing content for that client on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
I know what and I don't know what.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know there was somebody's question that was up for a while. I just didn't know what it was.
It was from Kat Landa, I believe. Kat, hey, hope you're doing well. Kat actually had a viral post, a post go viral not long ago. We had a really good conversation. Yeah, but I think her question was, should we repost? Here we go. What about reposting the company content with a comment? Does that help or is it worth it? So my recommendation is not to share on LinkedIn, because when you share any post, whether it's from an individual or from a company page, the reach is minimal. The best way to share that is make your own original post, reference the original post, talk about your perspective on it. Okay. So for example, if you have a company, a job opening in your company, instead of resharing it, create your own post. It says, hey, we're hiring such and such position. If you know something about the position or the people, add your perspective to it, and then say, if you'd like to apply, see the link in the comment below. And there you can either link back to the original post, or you can link to the job application page, whatever that looks like. But make your own original post instead of resharing. You're going to get 10 times the reach simply by doing that.
Hey, Anthony.
Yes.
If you don't cut that clip out and use that for content, I'm going to kick your butt, because that right there, because I would have thought just like anything else. Cause on Facebook, I tell people, cause I get the question a lot, should they have a company page versus a personal page? And I'm like, it's kind of the same thing, because there's a lot more engagement on their personal aspect of things. But I'm like, if you're going to share, just make sure you add a personal touch to it to make it sound more humanized versus just spitting the facts on your company page. But that's actual valuable content, Anthony. So make sure you snip that and post that sucker.
Absolutely. Thanks for the reminder there. Hey, I'd like to turn attention back to video for a minute, because as I mentioned at the top of this discussion, one of the things the way I discovered you was through your TikTok videos.
Okay.
And like I said, you bring a lot of energy, and you have a unique way of producing those videos. And so to kind of talk us through how you go about creating videos, you create them on TikTok. I have a TikTok channel, and most of the videos that I create for TikTok, and then I repurpose for LinkedIn. I keep all those channels in mind, but kind of share your process, how you go about creating videos, and any tips that you could share that would be helpful for others as they start creating videos.
Yeah. So when I first started, I was a trend girl. I talk about this all the time, especially on Instagram and LinkedIn. I mean, not Instagram and TikTok. I was straight up a trend girl, where I was like, let me use the trending audio. I danced a lot and I pointed, because I was too nervous to actually talk. And wasn't confident enough to talk, and that people wanted to hear what I had to say. So I basically started with that because it made me feel comfortable. So it's whatever you may feel comfortable doing, whether it's you having a conversation or talking straight to the camera. But I started with that. Then I learned that it's not really showcasing who I am or giving them enough valuable information about me, what I have to offer, my knowledge and expertise. So I did a big, huge shift on conversational pieces of me getting a tripod, aka I have one right now, filming the entire thing that's happening, even though I'm getting one. And
I didn't do that.
I take these snips and I snip it up. I used to do all of my editing and everything in the app. So whether it was Instagram or TikTok, but I started repurposing as well. So I film a lot of my content on my phone, and I use CapCut. CapCut is a godsend. It's just amazing. It's free. You can add music, you can add transitions, you can add captions, you can add anything that you want to do. But lately, what I've been seeing in a huge shift in my marketing strategy and getting me the authority that I wanted to have in the community and online now is just doing exactly what you and I are doing and having conversations, whether that's with my coaching clients, whether that's with my social media management clients, or whether it's just someone I'm having a conversation with and getting content. Because I have days where I'm just getting content. And so we film for 1 hour and we get a week or two out of it. So I would just say start filming everything that you do. I know that sounds crazy. I know that a lot of people say I don't have time for that, but in the reality is like your good, valuable content comes out when you are actually coaching or you're in your element doing it versus if you were looking at the screen and talking and then you're like, oh my God, my hair looks bad. I look bad. My voice sounds bad. I stuttered. It doesn't matter. That is giving you relatable aspects of you, your brand, and people are going to want to work with you. So it's definitely been a long time in the making. I've made mistakes. I've talked to a bunch of social media gurus. I've doubted myself. I've done all the things, but now I just video pretty much everything that I can and snip it up into as many little clips that I can. And I just post that sucker. And then you know what? If it doesn't do well, that's fine. I have something ready to go for the next day. And some of them take off and some of them don't. And there's a prime example that I'm going to obviously make into a video today or tomorrow is last night on my personal account on Instagram, I posted a trend and it was of me dancing. I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok where they flip the phone and it gets their husband's reaction or their kid's reaction of like you dancing. I did it with my kids. And the video got 30,000 views and over 5,000 likes, but nothing came from it. Like it was just simply somebody liked it. You want to put out content that is going to get people coming back for more, that are going to get them to hit the follow button, and they're going to get them as a client eventually, and you build that community. So a lot of people are freaking out with the whole virality thing, and they want to get it, but just going viral does not mean that your business is going to blow up and be successful. I know that went on like a huge tangent, but that's all with video and what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. But long story short, if you just carry around this little bitty tripod, everywhere you go and you set it up and you can just snip it and CapCut. It's great. It's great.
There's so many great tips there. And like, I've always taken longer shows like this and kind of like you said earlier, I'll find nuggets of content that I'll clip out and I'll repurpose that for LinkedIn and other channels. But I had never thought of like when we're doing a show like this, or you're doing a training, speaking at a conference, actually having a phone set up, recording everything. Because like one of the things that I noticed about your videos that most people don't do, and I encourage everyone to follow Shelby on TikTok and Instagram. I'm sure Chris, maybe we can drop her handles on here at the end, but a lot of time it's coming from a perspective where you see her talking to a group of people, camera's focused on her, and it's the 30-second or a 1-minute clip. And it just kind of helps to establish this authority, like you are teaching or you're training, you're coaching. And it just that perspective is really unique as opposed to just someone who is looking into the camera, giving a pre-scripted video.
Right.
So I love that. Like I've got a conference that I'm speaking at in January, and like I'm going to have a tripod set up with my phone. And I may look look really awkward or look pretty geeky with a phone set up in front of me while I'm talking to people. But like I can see I can get content from that would be really useful. So
I literally met someone at a conference and I was like, because she was a speaker and, I was a little, hey, I'm Shelby. I saw you on Instagram. I just wanted to introduce myself. And I got my tripod for her. She set up her camera and she videoed the entire thing because she would have had such good content. And that's the thing. That is where it's raw. That is where it's real. That's where it's conversational. That is where they're actually getting valuable information instead of you have it scripted. Because let me tell you, marketing, you know this, our creative brains are not, every time we think of something, it's not when it's time to film. It's literally at the most inconvenient time. Like mine mainly is when my children are running around saying, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to remember this thought because this is such good content. Or it's in a conversation, or it's when you're teaching and you're like, have this nugget of information that now, you can share that to the world. You have such a wealth of knowledge on LinkedIn that people are craving and they want, and they don't know how important it is to actually build their personal brand on LinkedIn. That I feel like if you just continue to push out that content, it's going to be awesome. And I think too, is a lot of people get overwhelmed because they have to repurpose it on certain things. I mean, there's stuff that I'll hold back and not post on LinkedIn, but I'll post on all my other platforms just because I still do feel like LinkedIn's a little bit more professional than your TikToks and your Instagram and your YouTube shorts or whatever. But you can still, any of my talking videos, I'm going to push on all platforms and just make sure that you're formatting it to what that platform likes, in my opinion. So I'm not going to speak on LinkedIn. I just know Instagram and TikTok a little bit more. Is a lot of people like to shoot horizontal. We've always been trained to do that. You know, you hold the camera like this. If so, try to fill that screen at the top and at the bottom, or try to zoom in a little bit more to take that black out, because it is a entertaining app and a visually appealing, pleasing, whatever the word is, app. So you want to make sure they're going to watch it longer. It just makes more sense psychologically for you to have that whole screen filled, whether you put at the top of that video what your video is going to be about, and maybe at the bottom how they can contact you. So just make sure that you have that information. There's two.
Yes, and I love the idea, because I get ideas for content in the weirdest places. You know, whether I'm driving down the road, in the shower, laying at bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and like I have a notes app on my phone. I have a folder on my camera roll called LinkedIn Ideas, and a document on my desktop that are just full of ideas. Because when you get a glimmer for an idea, you've got to capture it.
Yes.
Because even if you've got a great memory, you know, a few days from now it's going to be gone. So find ways to capture those ideas so that you can turn them into posts. You know, it may be weeks or months later, but you don't want to lose those ideas when they pop up. So we got another question here. Meredith, I work for a small company and run their social media pages. We've been looking into boosting our posts lately. Do you think boosting posts, paying for reach, is worth it? So I'll answer this for LinkedIn, and then I'd like your thoughts, Shelby, on the. So generally speaking, LinkedIn ads are more expensive than most other platforms. I would encourage you, instead of boosting, I would encourage you to, you know, make sure that you've got a consistent strategy. So you're posting content on a regular basis. That's probably going to get you more than boosting a post into an ad on LinkedIn.
I will say the same thing, honestly, is I've been posting organically for 2 years and I've never paid for an ad yet. And I think that if you're consistent and you put out really good organic posting and content, that you're going to build the community that you want. Also, boosting on Facebook is like literally taking money and flushing it down the toilet. So if you are going to run an ad for something, run a completely separate ad versus hitting the boost button, because that's just Facebook's way of tricking you. So just make sure that you have good, organic content first. And then if it comes to paid advertisement, there's nothing wrong with it, but just make sure you have a basis before you start with all that.
100% agreed. Absolutely. And I know Chris just gave us the 2-minute warning, so we're going to wrap up here. Shelby, tell us how we can get in touch with you and your ending spiel here.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. That was so quick. I feel like we could have talked so long. But yeah, like you said, my website's at the bottom, and I'm across a bunch of social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. It's just Shelby Claymo Marketing, and I put out content daily. So follow along, join my email newsletter. I'm starting to ramp up that again. So I hope to chat with all of you soon. Just reach out and say that you watch this so I can put a face to a name. Absolutely.
I definitely follow Shelby, you all. She puts out fantastic content. I guarantee you will learn a lot. And as we wrap up, if you have any needs with LinkedIn, with personal branding, if you want to learn how to use this platform to generate leads and clients for your business, please feel free to reach out to me. Send me a DM or schedule a call at reachanthony.com. So Shelby, thank you so much for joining us today. Chris Hennessy in the background, thank you for being our producer.
Yes.
And if you have any other questions that we didn't get to today, please send them via DM to Shelby and myself, and we will get to each one of those. Thank you all for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.